and we should be off here shortly. Okay, there we go. So the first thing that we are going to be doing in this race, if you are unfamiliar with Final Fantasy 1 PSP in general, we are setting up what is known as the equipment glitch. And by setting our cursor to memory, we are able to take the ID for hammer and apply it to our armor for knight's armor. And it can be any armor slot. And we use that to essentially get really high defense and actually some money at the beginning of the game to buy potions, antidotes, and phoenix downs. That sets us up for most of the game. Generally, runners tend to shop in different places. Some shop in the next town, some shop in this town. But from there, we go to the castle, and we have to deal with a slight cutscene here. It's just text box mashing. And then we shall be off to the first dungeon of the game. So, to explain the equipment glitch real quick, what it is generally you use a shoulder button to switch between two characters, and where your cursor is on your next character, when you press the cross button and your left or right bumper at the same time, generally it will mess up the ID, and that is how we glitch the hammer into knight's armor. So we will be using that quite a bit throughout the run. Right now, as you are seeing, there are some varying encounters. The encounter rate in this game is what can make or break a run. Here we see Box using the leather cap that he just got and switching it into judgment staffs. Generally, all of the equipment that we will be using throughout this run will be from bonus dungeons, and it's because they typically have higher stats than anything we can obtain throughout the actual game. The judgment staff also has a property that we will see here in a bit, where if you use it as an item, it casts flare. Very handy for later on in the run. But right now, we're just going to use Smack Garland, knock him down, and save the princess. Box getting a very good Garland there, and we will see if Rename gets one as well. And a very good Garland from Rename as well. So right now, they head back to the castle, just teleports them there, because walking with a princess apparently is not a thing. Typically, you can actually go to leave. We actually go up and talk to the princess because it's faster. If you try to leave, the princess stops you. You have to walk back up, and she gives you this item called a loot. This item you will not see throughout most of the run, but it is very important. Saving the princess also fixes the bridge that we need to get to the rest of the game, and cutscenes. This one is unskippable on Box's screen. We will be seeing it on Rename's screen shortly. The most you can do is mash across whenever text box shows up and hope it goes by fast. But yeah, we shall be going on to that. Our next cutscene will be whenever we walk over top of the bridge. Part of the cutscene is not skippable. The rest of it is. The fade in animation is unskippable. After that, you can skip the rest of it. It just fades back out. From here, to talk about encounter rates, forest tiles have the higher encounter rates, and marsh tiles have lower encounter rates. So we should be seeing them try to step on the grass as little as, or on the forest as little as possible, and hope we don't get wolves. Wolves are extremely hard to run from, especially early game, because we just don't have the agility for it. And Box getting lucky with lizards here instead of wolves. We'll see if Commentator's Curse kicks in. And having an actual good stint over to provoke a... Oh, ambushed by wolves. Commentator's Curse. So the tiles that Rename's on right now are actually the marsh tiles. They don't look like marsh tiles. They are. The way ambushes and preemptive strikes work, preemptive strikes you can run from no matter what. Ambushes you're unlucky with. You generally have to wait for all of the enemies to attack, and if you're extremely unlucky, they get to attack twice, and if you're in a group of 9 enemies, you're stuck there for a while. Box right there just used Judgment Staff for its flare property. It's easier to use that than it is to attack them. It takes 3 turns if you were to attack them normally, and it takes around 8 seconds for flare to go off. Cruel is telling me to curse Rename instead. To be honest, I want a close race. I'm not gonna lie, it's more fun for me to commentate that way. They essentially high-fived each other there at the pirate fight. Box not going for Leather Shield, which is used in some routes. Getting Sahagin instead. These are essentially sea wolves, and they're hard to run from. Still preferable to big eye encounters. Tend to take up time. They like to use gaze a lot, and it's an animation that you have to sit through. Rename also getting the ship. Looks like Rename is opting for the Leather Shield. So we shall see what he does with that. Again, one of the experienced runners in chat, if you could actually tell me what that turns into, because I don't know off the top of my head. I am sorry. Box here choosing to walk around Elfheim. Generally, if you walk inside of it and then walk back out, it resets your encounter, which is generally a step count. And every time you take a step, it modifies 2 values, and if they're the same, you get an encounter. Oh, it is the Mage's Staff. Thanks, Lenophus. And that is used later on. Yes, cast Fira. As we see, Rename is getting a bad Sahagin encounter. But on his way to Elfheim as well. Ship movement in this game is faster. Generally, we prefer it. The thing that's different in this game compared to the other games in the series, you have these dock tiles that you have to dock your ship at. You can also dock them at rivers, which we will see later on once you get the canoe. But until then, you can only dock them on these dock tiles. Rename actually going into Elfheim here. I do believe he is shopping for gold needles, and those are very safe to have. There are chances of petrification coming up, and those save a lot of time rather than going back and healing somebody. Box already starting through Marsh Cave, and Rename on his way to Marsh Cave. We are going here for the crown. Casual playthrough, you're supposed to talk to an elderly elf king at the top of the map where they will be going after this, and he pretty much tells you if he had his crown, he'd have his power back, and he should be able to help the prince that you're supposed to save. Not necessarily the truth. Box healing up here because of this Pisco Demon fight. It is an unrunnable. We will be seeing these quite a bit, probably. Now that I said it, we probably will. Opting to Judgment Staff. Most of the reason we do that is we have already had our mages set up from the pirate fight to staff. We just hold X. Box having a rather clean marsh cave to the crown, and Rename and Box will be high-fiving each other on their way in and out of the marsh cave. One thing to note, the bats that you do see on screen, on both Rename and Box's screen, those are NPCs. They can block your path. They have a habit about doing it in races, and they can cost time. Most notably Earth Cave, and other NPCs will do it later on. It generally, you don't want it to happen to you, especially when you're running. Box accidentally going back into the marsh cave. Happens to the best of us. Rename having an unfortunate warrior death there. This will be the last time that you actually see the warrior and the thief get healed for a while. Generally, 20 HP is the spot that if it's lower than that, we heal it, but we actually need them to die later, so you won't be seeing them get healed as much. Box is talking to the Elf King that I was talking about earlier. It is actually Astos. Not a very friendly enemy if you're playing it casually. Here, we're just going to smack it a couple of times in Judgment Staff. Doesn't really have the most HP, and he goes down pretty easy with our equipment. He does have a chance of killing one party member, though. If he targets one of your mages, that is extremely unfortunate. We want them to have as much experience as possible. Okay, it looks like we actually had a couple frame drops on Rename's side. So Box just obtained the Crystal Eye. Playing it casually, generally you go up to a cave before you reach Provoca to get the boat. And there is an old lady in there that is missing her Crystal Eye. Her name is Matoya. And it's what would set you off on this quest casually. We skip all of that, it's not needed. We go straight to Elfheim and don't worry about it. Right now, Box is on his way back with the Crystal Eye because we need it to get the Jolt Tonic that Matoya trades us for the Crystal Eye. And we will use it to wake up the Elf Prince. The reason is we're sort of on a fetch quest because even though we have a boat, we can't really reach other parts of the game. We are actually landlocked in this small area. I think we have a total of 4 ports, and that's places that we've seen, 2 of the places that we've seen, and some that we won't, or some that we haven't. Sorry. Box getting some unfortunate wolves. That is the thing about this game. The RNG, depending on your encounters, it can really make or break. Rename getting the death from Astos there and losing Warrior. Losing the Warrior is not too bad. Looks like Box is opting to skip Gold Needles for now. That will be interesting. So I'll go ahead and talk about how experience works in this game because it'll be something that we will see later on for just a tiny bit. When you see the experience at the end of battle, that is actually divided by all of your living party members. So he is doing needleless. So the Astos fight gives you 2,000 experience points. If you have all 4 characters alive, they get about 500 experience each. Whereas if 3 are alive, they get slightly more. If 2 are alive, they get 1,000 each. Oh, okay. Cruel saying that he is getting them after the thieves' armlets. Okay. That is interesting to know. But here Box is talking to Matoya to exchange the Crystal Eye for the Jolt Tonic. And he shall be heading back to Elfheim to wake up the prince and get the Mystic Key, which we need to get another item. If it sounds complicated, it kind of is. Realistically, it's not. The game really does not tell you where to take things. So we shall be seeing Box get back to his ship. And a thing to note, the dock tiles around the ship, those are no encounter zones. You typically do not have an encounter while you are on those tiles. And right now we are seeing why RNG in this game is terrible. Rename just now making it back to Elfheim, whereas Box is on his way back from trading the Crystal Eye. And Box getting unfortunate wolf encounter again. So Box is entering the Elven Castle, the first and technically the last time we will see it in this run. We talked to the guy next to the Elf Prince who's sleeping, had a curse placed on him, and we are giving him the Jolt Tonic to rouse him from his slumber. As I said before, he gives you the Mystic Key, and we will use that to unlock treasure chests we couldn't get to before. However, what we will be seeing Box do here is actually exit the castle to the left because it's quicker, and then re-entering and going to the right. There is a treasure room up here that we grab the Mithril Hammer from and change into Thieves' Armlets. Each one, if I do recall, they give you 5 speed points, which I do believe is evasion in this one. They allow you to run from battles easier. And it looks like Box is having some unfortunate glitch problems here. So right now we see Rename on his way back. Depending on how long this menuing takes for Box, Rename does have a chance to catch up. Sometimes you can go too fast, sometimes you can press buttons not correctly, and it just becomes a mess. And when you're trying to go fast and do multiple button presses at once, sometimes you get a little bit flustered, hands don't work right, whatnot, and it doesn't end well. But Box getting out of that menu and going to get his gold needles. Rename on his way to give the Jolt Tonic to the Elven Prince. And so far, right now, they aren't actually too far apart. If Rename does or has a good menu, he will actually save a lot of time on that. Box now is going back to Cornelia Castle. The reason being is there is a treasure room on the backside of Cornelia Castle that holds an item called the Nitro Powder. This is the last item in this fetch quest. And we are actually going to use it to blow up a small canal north of where Astos was. And it will allow us access to the rest of the game. Box opting to get the mithril knife here. I do believe that one changes into black robe. I am not too sure on that. But Box is leaving Cornelia, and he shall be heading over to Mount Duergar, where he will be blowing up the canal. Rename making the same trek. Actually seeming to have a better menu and catching up quite a bit of time on Box. So we will see if RNG is kind to Rename and allows him to get close or even take the lead. Rename opting to get the mithril knife as well. And grabbing the nitro powder. So here we see Box entering Mount Duergar, and he shall be talking to Narek, and giving him the nitro powder. Part of this cutscene is not skippable. Then you have part of it that is. Then you have part of it that's not. This part is unskippable. Lots of movement, lots of talking, and then you have to move all the way up. The thing blows up. You get a cutscene that you can skip, and then you have to move back down. All event movement, we can't control it. We can't make it go faster. We did actually see Rename catch up. He is not too far behind now. He is in the same cutscene that Box is. Box will get out of it faster, though, since he started it earlier. But from here, we will actually go on to Melmond. Box giving Rename a high five there and heading on. Rename shall be skipping this cutscene as well, I hope. And despite Box being ahead right now, they are actually fairly tied. Anything can happen. It's not over until it's over. Box getting some big eyes here. And a gaze. That is the one unfortunate part of big eyes. They like to cast gaze. They can paralyze. Paralyze is not a very fun thing to have. Yes, Cruel saying Earth coming up. That can be a big deciding factor. Sometimes it can. It was actually a deciding factor in one of the races I commentated earlier, I do believe this week. One of the racers had got the emergency exit on the boat from the puzzle game, and it put them ahead. They were behind all the way up until that point. Here we see them heading into Melmond. They will be getting the steel gloves, which they will turn into barbarian swords. Some routes put barbarian swords on all of their characters. Some of them put them only on the thief and the warrior. Both opting to make a mage's staff as well. And we actually see them tied up. Rename getting a little bit better menuing, but RNG kicked in and commentator's curse. The encounter the Box just got, and okay, I was hoping Rename didn't get it. The encounter Box got could be scary. All of those enemies have a chance to paralyze you when they attack, and if you get paralyzed locked, it can take up a lot of time, especially because at this point you don't have a safety save, and it can be up to 5 minutes at times. Sometimes it is a run killer. Both in roughly the same area. Rename just a tiny bit ahead. Both getting the same encounter. But from here, it will be dodge the NPCs and make their way down to the 3rd floor. Unfortunately, we can't go past the 3rd floor at the moment because of we need a item. Known as the Earth Rod, and unfortunately, we can't get that until we get an item that is on the 3rd floor. And we will see Box healing up his mages here and making a safety save. This floor can be very unforgiving. Sometimes you can actually get one turn petrolocked, and it's not a very fun time. If you get all your characters petrified, it is a game over. Box getting some raids. Those are runnable. The Pisco demons are unrunnable, so Rename is opting to use Judgment Staff as it will just one-shot all of the Pisco demons. And it looks like Box is opting to use an item as well. I did not see which one he chose. Oh, Mage Staff for Fire. Reason being, it's still faster to do that than it is to just attack them. And because of the weapons on the White Mage and Black Mage in this route, they're not necessarily the strongest. Rename one-shotting the Vampire. Barbarian Sword, we get it in Melman, and in the normal game, Excalibur is the strongest sword. Barbarian Sword, because of its stat boost, is about 3 times stronger. Rename here on his way out in the lead. Had they played the puzzle game and got the emergency exit, which is a 1 in 6 chance, that could have been a deciding factor because it would just take them straight out of the dungeon, whereas both racers have to actually leave the dungeon. And Box getting a good vampire as well. And now they both have the Star Ruby, which we will be trading in for the Earth Rod, so to speak. We need it to pass a giant and get the Earth Rod. That way we can come back, and to the other exit of that room, there is a slab that we need the Earth Rod to get rid of. Box seeming to have a bad encounter here. Very close to a paralock. Hopefully he doesn't get it. And this could actually be very bad for him. So while Box is in this battle, the way targeting works for enemies in this game, the person in first slot has a 50% chance of getting hit. Second slot is 25%, and then from there it's 12.5%. So typically you have better luck of not getting anybody hurt but your warrior, and with warrior having the higher defense, we generally keep him in first slot. encounter RNG there. Box had been in the lead this for the first part of this race, and now Rename is in the lead. And that's just one of the ways encounter RNG can really mess you over. And as I said back when they were in the Marsh Cave, Box getting a very unfortunate bat there. So here we see Rename in the Giant's Cave. This giant, he smells the Star Ruby on you, you hand it to him, he eats it, and then he walks very slowly off screen, and then just disappears. Nobody knows where he goes. But from here, we actually go to a cave further south and talk to Sarda to get the Earth Rod. So Box finally making his way out of Earth Cave. Both of them seem to be getting normal encounters. Rename making it to Sage's Cave to talk to Sarda for Earth Rod. And they will probably be high-fiving each other in the Giant's Cave. So yeah, it looks like Rename will be entering as Box is exiting. Getting a very unfortunate encounter there. Rename shall be making his way back to Earth Cave and going past where he fought the vampire. And now we have Box getting the Earth Rod. Hopefully RNG is kind to him and can allow him to catch up. And it looked like Rename forgot where to go there for a second. Catching it really quickly, though. Ooh, and an ambush encounter for Rename. This could be Box's thing to catch up if the encounter is very unkind to him. And it looks to be. Again, this is one of the things I had talked about earlier with ambushes. It allows all of the enemies to go first, and if you're very unlucky with the order that it gives you, they can all have a second turn before your first character gets to go. Rename back in B3, still opting not to make a safety save. This could be very dangerous. Both getting Wolf's encounters. I do believe Box's was an ambush, though. And here on Rename screen, we will see the first and only use of the Earth Rod to get rid of that slab and reveal stairs to B4. B4 is another scary area. The enemies here have chances of paralyzing. The cockatrices here have chance of petrifying, and it can just overall be a scary time. An ambush could end a run. I've seen it happen multiple times. Getting a preemptive here. Box on his way down to B3. And we see Rename getting a good B5, going straight to Lich. Generally, you will see a safety save here. Lich can be very unkind. He can make a first turn move, cast Blizzara, and your entire team goes down. And if you don't safety save, that's a reset right there. Looked like Box had to cure some poison as well. So right here, you will see their Rename's mages defend, and his warrior and thief use their barbarian sword. Again, barbarian sword deals the most damage that we have. For the most part, you will see physical attacks on all of the bosses from here on out. Really don't need magic for them. Rename in the cutscene, you will be seeing these after each of the major bosses. Generally starts with the crystal lighting up, and then you will be seeing a statue disappear from one of the bonus dungeons that were introduced in the Game Boy Advance release for this game, packaged with Final Fantasy II, called Dawn of Souls. We see Box getting some bad RNG, just unlucky encounters all around. Still has a good chance of catching up, though. Anything can happen. Luck can turn around in an instant, and then get one-step encounters. It's a very unfortunate sight, but that is Final Fantasy I in a nutshell. Box opting to use an item, but unfortunately getting his Black Mage paralyzed as well. Hoping to not get a paralock here, because that will set him back pretty far. And able to run from it. Box will also be making a safety save here. Earth Cave can definitely be a thing. Lich could still use Blizzara, and we will see Rename make his way over to Crescent Lake, getting a Sahagin encounter right before docking. Box opting to use Mage's Staff. Fire does a bit more damage to undead, as they are undead. Having a pretty clean kill on Lich, and he shall be in the cutscene as well. And then he shall be going over to Crescent Lake. And in Crescent Lake, we shall be getting some items. Some routes grab ethers here, some routes grab it earlier. But I am pretty sure that they will be grabbing the Mithril Axe here. It changes into, I do believe, the Black Garb. They may also be buying the Mithril Gloves here. Okay, they are. And I do believe that actually changes into Lust Dagger. And the reason they Rename got the black robe first, and then replaced it with a black garb. His black robe is another item that has a magic attached to it, and I do believe that one is Blizzara. And right now we see Rename taking this back path to grab the canoe. We will need it for the next area. For the split second that it was on screen, the guy tells you to take it and go to Mount Golg. We will be skipping Mount Golg for now, opting to actually go to the Ice Cavern first and grab the Leva Stone and do some grinding there. Typically, actually, the only grinding that we will see in this game. Look like both of them got an ambush. Renames is a bit more unfortunate just from the sheer amount of enemies. Box able to run from his easy, and Rename able to run from his easily. So a bit of an encounter high five there. Box looks to be doing the will be looking to be doing the same shopping that Rename did. May or may not have the gloves. I'm unsure on that. We will see if he grabs Lust Dagger. Rename heading straight to Ice Cavern, another area that can really troll in this game. Looks like Box is opting to sell stuff for his ethers there. And Box will be grabbing the mithril gloves as well. And we see Rename safety saving at the start of this cavern. This cavern is a very unforgiving place. We have unrunnables, hard to run from encounters, ambushes. An ambush with a Dark Wizard generally means a game over. They cast Firaga, and it wipes your entire team. Box doing his menuing, having grabbed the Lust Dagger for both his mages, it looks like. And now you can see why Box named his characters the way he did. It now spells out Box is an idiot. I don't believe that one. But runners are free to choose the names that they want. Box going now towards the canoe, and he shall be making the same trek to the Ice Cavern that Rename did. So here on Rename's screen, for a split second, we shall see the item that we came here for, the Leva Stone. But there's no way to get to it as there are these tiles that will drop you to this area. The unfortunate part about this area is we have a forced encounter tile on top of spike tiles on this floor. And that forced encounter tile can be a bit scary. Rename will be going back up a floor and using a tile in this room to fall back down to the Levastone area. And this will be the area that they have not healed their warrior and their thief for. They're going to hope for a Thundara from this Evil Eye first turn, getting the unfortunate gaze. The reason being is they want their warrior and their thief to die, and that gives their white and black mage a lot more experience. And we use that to grind both the white and the black mage up to level 18, and then we go one battle past that. That way we're set up for buying spells after our class change here before long. Box, now in the ice cavern as well, shall be taking a safety save and hoping for good encounters to get him close to lead or even back in the lead. And the scary part about where Rename's at, the tile in front of the Levistone is always going to be an evil eye, but whenever you step off, you have a chance for another encounter, and it can always be an ambush. And as I said before, an ambush can't kill you. Even after the grind, the ambush can't kill you. So it looks like Box is having some problem running from the counter. And Rename is just going ham on the Evil Eye. I don't know what level he's at right now. Box opting to attack these Mind Flayers. They are runnable, but their physical attack can also completely one-shot a character and kill it. And while that's not bad if it is on the Warrior Thief because we need them dead anyway, it's not worth risking. Rename getting the Levistone and Box getting some very good Dark Wizards, preemptive strikes rather than ambushes. Because an ambush is bad, and that would set him back quite a ways. Opting to use Judgment Staff here instead of any of the others. Judgment Staff typically does more damage and can kill Pisco Demons in one shot, whereas the Black Robe and the I can't remember, Sage's Staff cannot. Is it Mage's Staff? Box getting a very good Thundara there, not having to wait a turn. And Box will be doing the same grind that Rename just did. And Rename is actually on his way out of the Ice Cavern. Box opting to grab the Levistone before doing the grind. And healing up the mages as an ambush can hurt, and then Evil Eye sometimes can go first, very unfortunately. Sometimes it's Final Fantasy 1, and it just does not like the people that run it. So we're seeing Rename here grab some encounters on his side. This is just another form of RNG. You will notice that Rename did not revive his warrior. Reason being is they are looking for HP rolls. This game has a really weird mechanic whenever you level up that for HP you either get the max that your character can have, or you can get the minimum. I don't believe that there is any in between. And for the end of the game, they're looking to have around 270 on all of their characters. I do believe that is the least amount that you want. Rename making it over to the Ryukon Desert. I do believe that is the name of this area. Yes. And using the Levistone to grab the airship, which is the fastest means of travel, has no encounters. The downside is some runners get lost. Typically have to rely on landmarks. Box through his grind, and looks like he is leaving his warrior dead as well. And from the look of it, Box's Black Mage has less max HP than Rename's. Having more HP is a blessing, especially later on. The final boss, it actually saves a turn because you can attack on that turn rather than using an item to buff HP. And Rename on his way to the Citadel of Trials. We need it to get an item known as the Rat's Tail for class change. And while you can use the boat to get over here, because you can park it in that canal right there on Rename screen, we actually use the airship. Even though we have to park further away, it's faster. I do believe by a couple of seconds. Simply because of the fact that you don't have encounters. And we will be seeing Box grab his airship here shortly. Rename now in the Citadel of Trials. This area has a lot of teleport tiles. It is a maze. But as you will see here on Rename screen, as long as you pick the lowest teleporter, it'll get you to the end of the dungeon. Rename getting some Minotaur zombies. They are actually unrunnable. It's unfortunate. I do believe this place has a lower encounter rate for this floor, but encounters do still happen. And now we see Box on his way to the Citadel. And here on Rename screen, we are going to be seeing a forced encounter with nightmares. Technically, you can run from them if you get a preemptive. But they have a... they're really hard to run from. Because you can catch you can fight them in other places, but they are extremely hard to run from, so we actually count them as unrunnable. And this game, if you reach an unrunnable, unlike later Final Fantasy titles, it does not tell you that you cannot run from this encounter. It lets you run, and then you just fail to. So Box here is making his trek through the maze floor in the Citadel, and we are seeing Rename and Box get some encounters. And it looks like Box should be able to catch up if Rename gets some bad encounters here. So on Rename screen, we see him get gauntlets. Typically in other games, gauntlets don't sound too amazing. In this game, they actually cast Thundara, which is really nice for a dungeon coming up, because it is mostly aquatic enemies. It's kind of nice to have Thundara. Rename on the forced encounter here, the dragon zombie, they guard the chair that teleports you out. Box on his second nightmare encounter there. Fairly close, and we will see Box grab the gauntlets as well here shortly. And Rename is on his way back to the ship. The desert tiles that they pass over, they actually have a chance of getting an encounter known as the sandworm, and it has a chance of messing up a run. Ooh, and it looks like Box got an ambush there, and some of these Horned Devils like to cast magic, which takes up time. Box grabbing his gauntlets, and we will be seeing Rename make his way to the Dragon Caves, and that is for his class change, which changes his warrior into a knight, his thief into a ninja, and his white and black mage into white and black wizards. Box grabbing his rat tail. And fighting his dragon zombies as well. The rat tail is needed for the cutscene that we are seeing on rename screen. Bahamut will not change your class unless you have it, and we need that class change for some of our higher end spells, namely Teleport and Healara, and I do believe Haste as well. And Haste has a weird mechanic in this game. In later games, it speeds up your active time bar. This game does not run on an active time bar battle system. So above the characters' heads when they attack, you see the number of hits. And what Haste does, it actually allows your character to have more hits. So you deal more damage that way. And we will be using Haste on our Thief later on, because despite Warrior seeming to be the beefier one, our Thief is actually the biggest damage dealer. On rename screen, we're at the Desert Caravan, and he had just bought a fairy bottle and Giant's tonics. Reason being, Giant's tonics give 200 HP, max HP, for that battle to whoever it's used on. The fairy bottle is actually for a fetch quest, rename Stopping Here in Gaia, to let the fairy go, and the fairy will dig up some Oxyale, and it will allow them to breathe underwater and get to a dungeon later on. Box getting his class change now, and shall, I do believe, be doing the same thing. There can be some route divergence at this point. Some players opting to go to Mount Gold, some players opting to do their shopping here. Some grab the Oxyale and then go to Mount Gold. Some do their shopping, grab the Oxyale, so on and so forth. Depending on what the two runners see, we may see some route divergence here. They will typically sync back up at Sunken Shrine. Curious to see what Box is doing here, because he's opening the equipment menu. Opting to put Lordly Robes on a shield. That increases intelligence and allows them to deal more damage with their casting items. Rename going straight to Mount Gold, skipping the spell shopping, and you will be seeing Rename stick mostly on the lava tiles. The reason being is while you're on a spike tile, you don't take an encounter. So opting to stay mostly on those, yes, it deals damage, but it is the quickest way to get through this dungeon. And typically we have enough potions, or if you shop beforehand, you have Healara, which allows you to heal up fairly quickly. But we are seeing an actual clean Mount Gold from rename here. And Box doing his shopping as well for the fairy bottle and Giant's tonic. Ooh, and rename actually opting to stand on more of the normal tiles rather than lava tiles on that one. Typically don't see runners do that. They opt to go left or down because it's a shorter route on standard tiles and more time on lava tiles. That way they don't take an encounter. Rename now fighting Merilith. She is a pushover, like most bosses that you will see in this game. Physical attacks, and she goes down. Box grabbing his Oxyale. They will be needing it for Sunken Shrine, as I said earlier. Dungeon is completely underwater, and it will allow them to get access to it. Otherwise, there is an NPC that will stop them. So Rename is entering the second of the 4 boss cutscenes where after they beat them, they have to deal with the crystal lighting up, a statue disappearing, Box also opting for Mount Gold, saving shopping for later, and is healing up his party before stepping on lava tiles, just in case an unfortunate encounter. Getting a Hellhound and Ogre Mage encounter. These are actually unrunnable. They don't seem like they'd be, but a lot of this game, it doesn't tell you what is and what isn't unrunnable. Rename Stopping in Elfheim for Haste, and it is actually at the Black Mage shop on the complete other end of town. It is one of the few spells that you don't need a class change for, but the other ones you do need the class change for. And we will be using Teleport quite a bit in this run. And those are over in Melmond. They do require a class change. You can also buy Haste for your Ninja, but I don't believe Rename opted to. And here we are seeing Box bring up his Knight and healing all of his characters. And he shall be doing the fight with Merilith. So here we see Rename looking for the landing time over here at Onrak. It is our entry point to the third major boss dungeon, which would be the Sunken Shrine. And it is what we set up all of that fetch questing for. So there are some NPCs over here that like to stop you. Fortunately for Rename, the blue-haired boy that you see up at the top was not in the way. He likes to be in the way sometimes. And no matter how much you push them, they do not like to move. Box having a very good Merilith fight, able to get through there and able to get her taken care of. And now we see Rename in the Sunken Shrine. The left path actually takes you to the boss, but we will be taking the right path first. And the reason being is we need an item called the Rosetta Stone. What that does is we take it to an NPC in Melmond, and he actually teaches us a new language, all for the price of a few short hops, and a bit of a cutscene that we wish we could skip, but we can't. But I will take learning a new language over, you know, the time it takes to actually learn a new language for the price of a few short hops. Box making his way over to Elfheim and missing it to grab Haste. So the floor coming up on Rename screen, I do believe that this floor is actually one that has no encounters. Rename looking a little bit lost there. But this floor has an interesting mechanic that if you were to look at it on a flat surface, it actually loops vertically. And that is how we get the Rosetta Stone, just from a technical standpoint. Because the Rosetta Stone is actually on the far right side of the map, and you can't get to it by walking. You actually have to walk off the left side of the screen. And it warps you to the right side. And here we are actually seeing Rename use teleports, and that is to get back to the third floor. From here, he will be going left. He will be grabbing an item on his way down to Kraken, but he shall be making his way down to Kraken. And now we have Box on his way to enter Onrak. Not too far behind, Rename getting a unrunnable encounter there and opting to use Judgment Staff on it simply because it is quicker than fighting it. And with having two party members with the Barbarian Sword, it takes a little bit longer. I don't actually know if Lust Dagger is capable of killing them in one turn. But Box getting unfortunate blue hair boy being in the way. and Box is on his way to the entrance of the Sunken Shrine. So this chest that Rename is coming up to, he actually stepped on the encounter tile. There are 2 encounter tiles on the chest. It is to the left of it and below it. To the right of it is actually not an encounter tile. So typically runners go that way. You are seeing Rename actually put on Survival Vest. It increases most of your stats except for attack. And it is... Generally, we will be using it for the rest of the run because it has very high defense, and it actually gives us speed, unlike the Knight's armor. And you will be seeing Rename put Lordly Robes on 2 of the spots on the White Mage, and that is simply just to increase intelligence for extra damage for them items. And here we also see an unrunnable encounter on a Rename screen. And we see Box getting the Rosetta Stone. Yes, there was a Survival Vest on Shield slot, but I do believe Survival Shield is one of the items that are allowed on Shield slot and will not lock your game. I am unsure if it is. Let me look real quick. So I do believe people normally put Lordly Robes there. Nope, Survival Vest is one that will work on that slot. Typically, most of the other items will actually lock the game if you put them on the shield slot. That's the reason why we leave the shield slot free, because the parry animation can freeze the game. So here we see Rename making his way up to Kraken, and I do believe that is an unrunnable encounter. It is. And we see Box actually taking the right side of the chest and not taking the encounter. Casually, Kraken can really wreck a player in this run. As with the other couple bosses, Kraken actually is the least threatening boss in this game, because with the other 2 bosses, they have a chance. Kraken, complete and total pushover. With the Survival Vest and all that, he is actually slower. And I don't believe he has very many magical attacks that can wipe a party out at this point, especially with our items. So Rename in the 3rd of 4 boss cutscenes. Both are making really good times. Some of the newer runners typically are a couple minutes behind at this point, both having very respectable times despite the RNG that they've faced. And overall, like, this is a really good run. RNG permitting. They've not had too many trolley encounters. Knock on wood on that one. And looks like Rename's dropping some more frames there. From here, we will be seeing Rename go to the Water Cave. Reason being is we need another fetch item quest. Or fetch quest item, sorry. Known as the Warp Cube. And here they will be getting the ribbon as well. Some players opt to actually grab the ribbon inside of a Sunken Shrine. So Waterfall Cave here has a very high encounter rate. Sometimes you can get lucky, but other times Waterfall Cave's not a very friendly place. Kraken actually using his ink ability there, but not really affecting anything, and Box cleans up Kraken pretty quickly. And it looks like Rename had some very unfortunate bat RNG there. The bats do like to troll. NPCs are actually the worst in this game. They are the biggest threat to a run, in my opinion. Other than the actual RNG itself. Rename entering this room, it's always an encounter. There is an encounter tile there. And speaking to this, automaton gives us the warp cube. Box now out of the Kraken cutscene. Getting a sea troll as par for the course. And from here, Rename just picked up the ribbon. We will be using it to create the Gigantax. And from that, we will actually use it to put ribbons on the shield slot. Reason being, ribbon is a safe item for the shield slot. It gives us pretty good resistance to elemental damage, and if I recall, it does give us immunity to instant death attacks, which is pretty helpful. From here, Rename will be going back to Melmond, using the Rosetta Stone to learn a language called Lufenian, and then he shall be making the trek up to Lufane to get the chime for access to essentially access to the second to last dungeon, the last of the 4 Fiend dungeons. Box encountering nightmares here. Again, nightmares are runnable. They just are hard to run from. Some players opt to kill them if they see them. And I don't believe either of the runners have actually had a rare encounter yet, because there are 1 in 64 chance encounters. We have kind of been looking forward to seeing them in this tournament. My bet is I always want to see a war mech if it shows up. And here we see Rename learning Lufane from Dr. Une there. And here you will see them just hop up and down a couple of times, and your characters learn a new language. So Box grabbing his ribbon, and we'll be creating the Gigantax and creating some ribbons, and then we'll be teleporting out and heading back to Melmond himself. Rename going up to Lufane. Again, airship movement can be tricky. It's a lot of water. There's not a lot of landmarks, but Rename finding his way pretty quickly. And that spot there is actually the closest spot that we can park to get to Lufane. It is a giant trek through a lot of forest, a lot of high encounter rates, and if they get Minotaur zombies, they have to fight them. Most of the other stuff they can run from. And Rename, as if on cue, gets a Minotaur zombie, but only one. Not bad at all. Box doing some zigzags there, trying to find where he's going. Lufane is a troll point, which Rename actually gets really good RNG in Lufane. NPCs can stand in your way for a long while, and it isn't bad, but it is frustrating, especially when you're trying to PB and you just have NPCs standing in your way. Rename grabbing the chime. You have to learn Lufenian in order to talk to the person to get the chime. But he shall be making his way back to the airship and actually not be riding the airship for very long, because Mirage Tower is actually close to Lufane. We see Box here actually looking for the tile to stop on. and they will high-five each other somewhere around here. And Box will be heading to Lufane for the chime, as Rename is heading towards Mirage Tower. Okay, and we see Rename getting some Pyroliths. Pyroliths, I do believe, still have a chance of petrifying, so it could still be bad. Box getting good RNG with the NPCs as well, not taking up too much of his time, and he shall be teleporting out and heading to Mirage Tower as well. Mirage Tower has quite a bit of encounters, not really a lot of unrunnables, and the vampires that we've seen on Rename screen, only in the Earth Cave are they considered unrunnable, and it's simply because it's an NPC boss fight encounter. But in the groups here, they're completely runnable. You run from them, you don't have to fight them. Box getting some unfortunate Minotaur zombies, and here we will be seeing Rename step on a forced encounter Blue Dragon tile. Blue dragons are actually inside the dungeon itself, but it is a 1 in 64 chance of getting it. So the warp cube coming into use, Rename is actually using it to grab, or to enter Flying Fortress, which is the last of the 4 fiends, being Tiamat. And from here, getting an Evil Eye encounter. Evil Eyes are still unrunnable. There are quite a couple of unrunnables in this area. And hopefully we will see some more mech hype. I've been trying to commentator curse War Mech forever, and unfortunately, I'm not getting it done. I am looking forward to seeing a runner get War Mech, as I do believe it is one of the few encounters that no runner has had so far. One of 3, it looks like. So here we see Box getting an encounter right before the Blue Dragon room. Box is not all that far behind. He can still catch up depending on RNG. The room Rename is in right now, it looks empty. It's really not. It's a small room that just loops over and over and over again, regardless of which way you go. And if you go 2 of the squares in the middle, up, left, right, down, and then you turn left or right from there and go 2 more, you'll always find the end. Just a quick way to get through it. Rename on the bridge known as the Height Bridge. We're hoping for a War Mech. Ongoing joke, if we don't see War Mech, run is invalid. And this entire room has a chance of War Mech, so it could still be seen after Tiamat. So we are seeing Rename opt to use haste on the ninja. The reason being, as I said before, haste actually gives more hits rather than increases the amount of attacks per turn you get. That's the reason why Tiamat can be scary. And here hoping to heal up the Black Mage before Tiamat goes down, but not getting a chance to, just for that extra EXP, especially since his Black Mage is sitting at 191 max. Going to the last dungeon, that could be an issue. And here we see Box is actually caught up, going into the Tiamat fight as Rename is leaving it. So this is still a close race. Anything can happen. Box also opting to use haste. We still have one dungeon left. Box getting a quicker encounter than Rename, so that's going to save a lot of time. And going back into Chaos Shrine for the final dungeon of the game. This could put anybody as the winner of this race. Opting to heal up and not getting a War Mech encounter. Unfortunately, that means the run is invalid. Not really. But still would like to see a War Mech in the group stage here. Rename looking a little bit lost there, going down and then going back up. But we are headed back to the Chaos Shrine, which is the first dungeon of the game. And typically any casual player looking in, not having got to this part, will see this cutscene and think it is actually the place for the final dungeon. And it's not. It's actually the PSP bonus dungeon, Labyrinth of Time, I do believe. But in reality, you just go back up here, you talk to the crystal that was behind Garland, and it warps you into the past. Other versions of the game, I do believe NES and PS1, if you did not get the loot at the beginning of the game, you could essentially be soft locked and not be able to get back out of this dungeon, as there's no exit. Simply because you need the loot. The loot actually comes back into play here. So we see Rename opting to safety save at the beginning of this area. And that is a very smart move, especially in a race setting. Anything go wrong. This area does have a lot of unrunnable encounters. The purple worms that we see here on Rename screen are unrunnable. And we will see a lot more of them. Box is starting his trek into the past Chaos Shrine as well. And Rename getting a good floor, it looks like. Looks like we got white dragons on Box's screen. The Death Eye here is a forced encounter, and coming up past it, we will see our first and only use of the loot that we got at the beginning of the game. And as lovely as it was, it does play the normal Final Fantasy arpeggio there. Indeed, the crystal theme. Box is at the same thing. This encounter with the Ice Gigas and Winter Wolves is unrunnable. If you get unlucky, Winter Wolves can use Snowstorm and just hold you up for a while. But we are seeing Box and Rename here neck and neck. Unfortunately, Box getting a worse encounter there. Again, still anyone's game. Realistically, it doesn't matter who's ahead at this point. Especially when they're this close, anything can happen. And anybody can take the lead just simply because something happens. So we're seeing Rename here on B1, and the not so fun thing about this dungeon is you have to refight all of the 4 fiends. And I do believe my commentator's curse caught up again, and Box having some pretty bad RNG. Deeply sorry about that, because I do want this to be a really close race. So one of the things that could be an issue is Rename's Black Mage HP's low. So if he gets a really bad Chaos, Box could pull ahead on Chaos. Right here we see Lich using Flare. If you're greedy and you don't heal up, Lich could essentially one-shot you there. But as we see, Flare is pretty nasty, and it took down half of his people, and the 2 remaining are pretty hurt. That will be a heal up. That will be a menu, and that is time for Box to catch up, especially if he gets a good Lich. Unfortunately, Box getting more unrunnables. All the elementals, I do believe, except for Air Elemental or Wind Elemental, is unrunnable. Rename making it into the Fire Floor. We call it Fire Floor because of our rematch with Marilith here, or if you want to call it Marilith 2. Box opting to heal up. And right now, Box is only a boss behind and a floor behind, if you want to consider it that. Box also getting flared, but I do believe we won't see all of his people go down. Oh, never mind. Same amount of people went down, just HP was reversed on that one. Rename here going into the water floor, notably because it is the Kraken floor. We will see Sunken Shrine enemies. But overall, the run's not done yet. Again, anything can happen. Ooh. Okay. So here we have Rename going up against Kraken 2. Opting to use haste again. Simply because the fact that right now the Thief and the Warrior are main damage dealers. And it just helps to have them do more damage. So we see Rename entering the wind floor, except for getting very clean, and it looks like his next step will be Tiamat 2. This is a scary boss. It can hurt. Even in the old Barbarian Sword route, we typically haste our Thief just to do more damage. This fight is an actual scary fight if you're not paying attention. Not getting the Phoenix down off. Going into Chaos, it looks like that Black Mage is going to have a very scary 194 HP, and that means he may go down the first turn. And that could be very bad because Rename did not take haste on his Thief Ninja. And after that, there's no haste. There's no way to speed up, and that's damage lost. Here they will be doing the last menuing, or Rename will. Typically we put the golden staff on our white mage, barbarian sword on our black mage, and then replace the survival vest with clothes, simply because it makes the white mage slower, and realistically we want the white mage to go slower, simply because the fact of we want them to heal up at the end of every turn with Chaos. That way they can heal damage. Box going into the Tiamat 2 fight without healing the Black Mage. That is pretty scary. but getting Scourge and it misses, so that is actually pretty lucky. This may be the critical point, and if Box can catch up, this race will be pretty close. So here we see the Chaos fight with Rename. This will be the first use of Giant's Tonic, and opting to double Giant's Tonic on this round. However, Giant's Tonic only increases your max HP, does not increase your current HP. So it could be scary. Fortunately for Rename, the Blizzard did not kill his Black Mage. So he was saved that, because that could actually be a reset, and that could have allowed Box to catch up. So here we see Rename using haste on the ninja, then on the warrior, and had he not got slower on the warrior, he would have been using it on the Black Mage this turn, and then from there it would have just been straight attack and heal, and it would have been go mode. However, outside of the little bit of damage loss there, it does look like Rename will be taking this first. Again, anything can still happen. But overall, this was a really close race. Both runners should be proud of it. We may actually be seeing a PB out of Rename, because his PB on the leaderboards currently is 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 40 seconds. So that may be a actual PB for him. So we see Box at the start of the fight, and he will be doing the same thing. It looks like Rename is actually done with an SRL time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 15 seconds. But now we see Box in that fight as well. 15 seconds. Able to get all of his stuff hasted. And it looks like we are actually in a good spot. This is a really close race. Let's see here. I have asked if Rename wants to step in for an interview. Let's see here. But now we see Box in that fight as well. 15 seconds. Able to get all of his stuff hasted. And it looks like we are actually in a good spot. This is a really close race. And it looks like we are actually getting some feedback audio from Rename stream, who is being used for the audio. Asked if Rename wants to step in for an interview. And it looks like Box also finishes with an SR 53 seconds. And realistically, that's a really good time. I do believe that is one of the closest races thus far. If I can get a chance to look real quick. Yeah, that is in the top two on fastest or closest races. Really good times from both. Really respectable run. Had RNG permitted. Could have been even quicker. This is actually these are one of the lower times that we've seen in the tournament. And definitely something to be proud of for both runners. I don't think I can actually move. Races. Really respectable run. I'm going to try to get them in here for an interview real quick.
Hello. Congrats. Oh, the start of my game was so terrible in terms of encounters.
Okay, I can hear them through their stream.
I've been behind my splits for 5 minutes, for 5 minutes behind my splits for most of the race. Yeah.
If there is an administrator in the chat, if somebody can move them down to the commentary channel.
So I was watching at one point, so I saw that I had so much luck in the water and stuff. That made the race close again, because you were 3 minutes ahead of me at one point. But well done. Absolutely well done. Well, are we gonna get interviewed now? I'm actually curious. Theoretically, they come.
Sorry for the delay. Just trying to get them moved into the tournament race chat, and I don't have permissions for it. So give us just a second here.
There we go.
No.
Okay, there we go.
Hello.
I do want to say, good game to both of you. It was a close race. I was happy to see it. So sad we didn't get to see Warmac. I have been trying to commentate or curse that for a while. You both did really well. Rename, I do have to ask, was that a PB for you?
Yes, it was a PB for me.
Congratulations.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, because I was looking at that, because I have the speedrun tab up, and I had actually commented, and I was like, well, his PB is a 1 hour, 33 minute, and 40 second on speedrun.com. Anything can change. But that was, for both of you, that was an amazing run, RNG aside.
RNG aside, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be Final Fantasy 1 aside. I'll go in order. Box, how do you feel this race went for you? I know you said in chat that Final Fantasy 1 was not nice to you today.
The start of my game was really not nice to me. I mean, I did mess up my planning. I thought I had the match this Friday, so I had to come in short notice, with cold hands and that kind of stuff. So yeah, equipment glitching didn't went very well. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I noticed. I was sitting here commentating it, and I was like, man, Box's equipment glitch is kind of taking a while. Going fast and being able to press those buttons, it hurts at times.
Yeah, if you have cold, most can attest that when you have cold fingers, doing a frame perfect glitch that involves sad fingers is not an easy task.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It didn't really hurt. I just couldn't get the timing right.
Yeah.
My fingers weren't responsive enough to allow after a little while, they started warming up, and then from that point on, the glitches went a little bit smoother as the game progressed. But yeah, at that point, most of the equipment glitches were done.
Yeah, because I do believe you were ahead of Rename for quite a bit there, and then Rename caught up during some of your equipment glitching. If my ability to remind myself of how exactly this race went, I was actually kind of too into watching it at points. Rename, how do you figure your run went? Obviously, you PB'd, so...
Yeah, I've noticed with settings with a little more... I mean, it's definitely a friendly race, but there's more, I guess, pressure than just doing a solo run. But I, freak out about everything up until, roughly a half hour. And then after that, I figure I'm either ahead or behind, so I start relaxing a lot more at that point. But I noticed my early game, I was making a lot of movement mistakes and things like that. And I feel like, I don't know how your encounters went, but I feel like my encounters early on were very, very plentiful. So at that point, I just written it off. I was like, okay, I'll finish this run. It won't be pretty, but I'll finish it. So I started relaxing a little more. Then I feel like my movement got a little better at that point. But at the beginning, it was a little rough, I feel. But
yeah, because I noticed a little bit, like in Earth Cave and a few places on the world map, you were kind of moving back and forth. You weren't sure of which way to go. And I seen you posted in the Discord, when you get so many encounters, you just forget where to go.
Yeah, on the world map leaving the Earth Cave, I know I took that hard right in the middle of the mountains and walked all the way to the end, into the dead end. I was like, okay, I'm lost now. So I had to backtrack a little bit to recover from that. But like I said, after that point, I wasn't as in my own head about the run, and I was able to relax and just rely on muscle memory a little more.
Yeah. So I do want to say, Box, I'm sorry I commentator cursed you, and you got some very unfortunate unrunnables and some ambushes. Right after I said something, you would get what I would talk about, like the wolves at the beginning of the game. And I was just like, man, kind of hoping that wouldn't happen, but if it keeps it close, I guess. But do want to apologize for that. Anything you guys think you can improve on? I know you guys do have, I think, one other match that you both have to do, if I'm sure on that one.
I have to do a rematch still against Bruce. So yeah, what I'll definitely improve on is improve my planning, and I'm making sure that I have my hands warmed up next time, because that is costing me a lot on execution. No joke.
Yeah, because it got to be around 250 EST, and I was sitting here and I was like, Box is still set to being away, and I tried pinging you, and it was just, we had no clue where you were for those first couple of minutes. So that is unfortunate. Hopefully your hands are warmed up next time. I would like to see that race.
And besides, there is some pressure on because I think well, I mean, it's definitely not decided yet how our group will end, because I'm at 1 loss, 1 victory. Same goes for you, for Rename.
I got 2 victories, but I've only done 2 races.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, Bruce can still overtake me. So I have to play I have to play well against him.
Yep. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that match. I do believe the next match of this tournament is Wednesday. And it will be between Leonis and Crusader. And it will be here on Speed Gaming. I don't know which channel yet, but definitely something to look forward to. That will be 3 p.m. Eastern. Anything you guys want to end out on?
Not really. Just, I mean, I'm glad it was another close race. I've only done 2 races, but I'm 100% on races that were like less than 2 minutes apart from finishing from each other. So regardless of the winner, I think that's a lot more entertaining that we're both in the same boss at the same time and things like that. That's always really cool when something like that happens.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I guess to end this out, I would like to thank Speed Gaming for hosting the tournament. I'd like to thank Feasel for restreaming and his crew for restreaming. They're always great, always helpful. I'd like to thank the runners. Please go follow them. They're really good people. If you want to learn the game, we do actually have guides on speedrun.com. We have a Discord. Always generally able to help people out. Do recommend picking it up. It is a fun very first speedrun, as long as you can get past RNG being frustrating. But yeah, a lot of the people in this tournament are actually new. Some are rusty, and we've not had any time over 2 hours yet. So definitely pick it up if you think it's interesting. But other than that, I do believe that ends out today's race.
And thank you for commentary.
Not a problem. I do believe, I don't know which channel this one will jump over to. There is a Breath of the Wild race going on Speed Gaming 1, and it looks like a Link to the Past randomizer Key Sanity race on Speed Gaming 3. So if you stick around, you'll catch one of the 2 of them. But thank you for watching, and have a good night.
Good night.
Bye. All right, later, dude. GG's.
See you later.